industry or in every yes, in every industry there are rules and regulations. And so when it comes to building, we have the building regulation that guides what we do. And if the regulation is set aside and people end up behaving or doing things which are not in agreement with the regulation, it raises questions. And so there are multiple factors. We have our MMDAs who are issuing permits for building, and permitting doesn't end there after issuing the permit, and then it ends there. There are several things that happen after the issuance of the permit is done. Are we following what the rule says when it comes to permitting? I don't think so. Then it comes to professionalism. I think there's lack of professionalism in what we have been doing. People are not engaging professionals to do the work. It's also one reason. There are materials that are used. Are the materials of the highest quality standards? If the materials are quality, what about our labor force? Do they have the technical competencies to claim to be who they are in terms of what they are doing? So if you look at this, you realize that there are several multiple factors which may have caused these things to happen. Every collapse may have its own auditing result to give us a picture of what may have exactly happened. But it may be a combination of all these factors, or part of all these factors, or one of these factors, which may have caused these buildings to collapse. I think, as at yesterday, there are 4 of them in May alone. Let's forget about the past. Anytime I go into the media and I talk about this and I refer to the Mekong disaster, I think Mekong people feel uncomfortable. They think I am reminding the public of what the issue is. But it is a very important yardstick because it brought a lot of awareness. And I thought that awareness should have brought some drastic change into what we do. But it didn't seem to have caused that much change. And I didn't even hear anybody prosecuted or anybody questioned when that happened. So there are multiple factors, and so we may have to interrogate and audit this building that's collapsed to find out which of those factors may have actually caused it. But any of them is possible, or a combination of all of them. I think the developer. Sometimes when we also use the word developer, people's mind go to commercial estate developers. No, when we say developer, anybody who has an interest to put up a structure is a developer. Even if it is a kiosk, you are a developer. So any developer who has any intention of developing a property's first call is to engage a professional. And in most cases, we don't do that. People have invited people they know based on recommendation. This man built my father's house 10 years ago. He built my uncle's, he's my niece, he's my nephew, that is what we are doing. Instead of walking to the doors of professional service providers and engage them, we don't do that. So the first point of call is to engage the professional. The professional has the background to advise you on so many levels. He can even advise you on your budget. He can even advise you on where to raise funding from. Also depends. First of all, the size of projects will determine. I mean, if you are basically building 1 or 2 bedroom or just a chamber in a hall somewhere, I agree you can work with some foreman or some basin who has over the years has worked with seasoned professionals and so may have acquired some knowledge. And so, but when we are talking about the buildings that have collapsed recently, anything above 1 single floor calls for a top class professional advice because you are dealing with structures. And if a doctor makes a mistake in his office, the chances are that one person may die. But if a building professional make a mistake, trust me, a lot of people may die. And so we shouldn't take it for granted. And so depending on the size of the project, as I said earlier, you may have to consult at various levels. But when I say consultancy, as I said, even as basic as it is, you also need somebody to guide you. You pour out your interests, you pour out your requirements, and then this person will advise you on how to achieve it. So the 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 point of engaging the professional is what I'm talking about. It is so essential that you cannot do without it. Whichever level you are, or whichever level the size of project is, you need to consult. In our normal professional setup, the first point of call is the architect that you have to see. The architect doesn't work alone. He works with a structural engineer, and in most cases, a quantity surveyor. And then these days, we have added mechanical engineer. When you say mechanical, somebody who does both plumbing and electrical wiring. So now they become part of the team. So he designs, and then this team will sit down. The architect is pouring out an idea. It may or may not work. You may have wild ideas. I want my building to have an arm like this. That is what he thinks he wants. Or based on the client's request, then he says, I want this. But when he puts the drawing down, a structural engineer comes in, he looks at how best the structure can stand. And he says, no, this arm you want on the building is so long that it will fall. When I put in the iron rods, it won't work. Then you have to go back and make those changes. So that's what the professionalism thing comes in. Then the quantity surveyor is more like the cost manager. He will cost the whole work and say that this is your design, this is your aspiration, what you are hoping to achieve is going to cost you so much. You may have the budget or may not have the budget. Then it will call for review. Then when all these things are done, then you proceed to what we call to obtain a building permit. And this is to visit the district assemblies or the MMDAs, and then you put in your application. And then the application will go through a process. They will do their own internal vetting. When they are satisfied with the work that the architect, the structural engineer, and the mechanical, all the team have done, and they are certain that this is worth what it is, then they will approve it. And then when the approval is reached, then you then go and implement that drawing on the ground. Now, what has been happening, that from my own observation, is that people obtain permits for a particular work, and on the site they go and implement something completely different. I go for permit for 2-story building, then I end up building 3-story building, and it is because the MMDA or the permitting authority did not monitor you well. They didn't check you to see whether you are implementing exactly what you claim you wanted to do, and they permitted you to. And they will give you all sorts of reasons why they are not able to do that. So that is one factor. And then, as I said, the multiple factors that has to do with the quality of our labor, materials. In fact, it's so vast. You can have the best of material in terms of, say, cement, iron rod, but the way it is applied is not correct. A lot of people don't even understand the technicalities in what we do. And so when they engage what I call the wayside artisans, when I say wayside, artisans who have not gone through formal training, but somehow have learned how to do something, they don't have the inner understanding of a lot of things that we do. So all his understanding is that I want to mix concrete. So I fetch so much gravel, I fetch so much sand, I mix it together. Sometimes he doesn't even understand the ratio. How much cement do you need? How much sand do you need? He doesn't understand. We have something we call water cement ratio. In fact, it is one major reason why a lot of buildings don't come out with that quality we are expecting. Because there's a relationship between the mix design, the cement you are using, the amount of cement you are using, and the amount of water. So if you cast your mind back, contractors or people who mix concrete who don't use concrete machine, you see them mixing a chunk of concrete on the ground. You see them very early in the morning. By 7, they've started. They mix it. Sometimes the sun has an amount of moisture. So the moment you add cement to that, the cement has started working. And the cement, we have something because setting time. If you add water to cement, and the principle says that when cement sets, don't disturb it. So now they start at 7:30 in the morning. They start mixing. And then when they mix it so heavy, a lot, you see a lot on the ground. Even the time they pour, they complete finishing the water, it's more than 30 minutes. Then after that, then they start mixing. By the time the concrete will leave the ground and eventually go to where it's supposed to be cast, that setting time has occurred like triple times in the process. So the strength of the product called concrete we are intending to achieve will not be achieved. So you see that in this explanation, the relationship between professionalism, quality of material, and quality of the application of the material has all been completely placed out of context. Then come to iron rod. People think that when you put a very thick iron rod in a particular place in the building, then it means you are doing a good work. It doesn't work that way. You have to have the right size of the rod placed at the right part of the building to achieve strength. So if you don't have this knowledge and you are a layman, the one I mean the developer, this mason will come and tell you that I say a iron rod can see nearly shed with cement boom. They are all rubbish. Excuse me to say. They don't bring quality to the work at all. You have to have the right quantity of cement because even when the cement is too much, it even affects the quality of the cement, the concrete. It's the same way with the iron rod. So if you have a better understanding of how these things work and you put them together, then you are talking about achieving strength and achieving quality.